long time. We'll have some laughs. My old my old partner, my old main man there over at WFAN in New York, Sports Radio 66 for 19 years. The big guy, Mike Francesa. Michael, how are you today, pal?
How are you,
okay?
Doug? Happy St. Patrick's Day.
There you go. There you go.
And
Doing good.
I want to wish you like this story. I want to wish my beautiful wife, Roa, a happy St. Patrick's Day and the family, because I can't take her out because yesterday I had an impacted wisdom tooth taken out. The worst day of my life in a dental chair, 2.5 hours. I had 5 roots in this tooth in the back. It took 2.5 hours to take out. I look like I went 15 rounds with Ali. You should see my face right now. I got beat up, I'm bruised, I'm cut. It's unbelievable how bad it was.
Wow, I have heard that is a tricky little surgical procedure.
The worst.
Did they give you some medicine for it at all? Or
well,
not?
I mean, listen, they gave me the sweet air, nitrous oxide, and they gave you plenty of Novocaine, but I don't care. They go so deep. They dig so deep, it doesn't matter. There's nothing they can give you except say sorry as they go in there and dig around and dig around. Oh, man, what a mess. I slept in a chair last night. I couldn't even sleep in the bed. I slept in a chair.
Did you know going in this was going to be a disaster?
Yes. I actually, listen to this. I actually went to a specialist first to try to save the tooth. He worked on it for an hour. He killed me and then said, I can't save it. And then I had to go get it out, and that was 2 more hours. So I spent 3 hours in a dental chair yesterday.
So you did the same you did 2 different dentists in the same day?
2 different dentists. The first guy tried to save it. He couldn't save it. He worked on the roots. He worked on the nerve, and then said, you know what, I can't save it. You got to go get it pulled. He doesn't pull it. I have to go back to my original dentist. Then he got an oral surgeon in to pull it, and it came out. It took 2 hours to come out in pieces.
Oh, that's terrible.
Unbelievable.
That's a terrible
it's terrible. So, hey, but more importantly, it's St. Patrick's Day. It's a great time of year. You know, you got the tournament, you got baseball, you got NFL signings, you got the Masters, you finally got something to talk about for a change. And I'll tell you this, I don't know how you feel about this, and I haven't heard you, but I'm sure you address stuff like this. I'll be fascinated to see the impact on the tournament. It missed last year. Nobody has cared about college basketball. You don't have a lot of the big names there. You don't have a lot of the big teams there. I think this is going to be a very tough sell. First of all, the ratings have been terrible for every sport. Secondly, no one likes watching games without crowds. They look antiseptic. They look like they're practice games. I think it's going to be a very, very tough sell, the NCAA tournament across America.
You're 100%. I have been on that. This is why we think alike, and we did 19 years. I've been on that exact point. No Duke, no Kentucky. You try to watch, Duke doesn't have Cameron flocking. Nothing going on in the one-bid leagues. I am with you 100%. The one thing I will say that could help it is I think we missed it so much last year that I think people are dying to have it back. I know my kids are. They're dying to have it back. Little piece of Americana. That might be enough to overcome the obstacles that they're dealing with. You're right. Nobody watched a college basketball game all year. Nobody watched the teams play. I haven't seen half these teams play. I mean, a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but I'm not on top of this. I will be Friday. And I also think the schedule, Mike, is a problem. I think they lose the 2 days during the week. They're going to play the first round on Saturday. I think that's a major problem. So there's a lot of issues they have to overcome. No build-up. Go ahead.
No build-up for this thing. And listen, people who have a bracket will care. People who have the $2 down on FanDuel on some long shot or a parlay care. They're going to care for that long. But you watch. You know the ratings have been bad for everything. And I have a reason for this. Not only the crowds. Misses the crowds. Everyone misses the atmosphere. No question. Even on TV, you miss that. But the other thing is there is a rhythm to how we follow sports. We're ingrained. We know it's this time of year. It's time for this. It's time for that. That has been completely turned upside down like everything else in the last year, and it has hurt sports as much as it's hurt anything in America. It's killed sports in the last year. Sports have had no feel. Even the NFL playoffs. which probably did better than anything else, still had very little feel to them. Nothing has the right feel. And I still wonder how many people are going to be in ballparks outside of Texas, how many people are going to be at games. You know, I'm still wondering if I can go to Saratoga this summer normally. I mean, there's so many things up in the air that people still don't know day to day that we're still trying to figure out. It could take a month, could take 3 months. Is so much up in the air still. They needed the NCAA tournament. They had to have it because they needed to give that money to the schools, or the schools were dead. We all know that. They had to get the tournament back in. And listen, they'll do anything they can to squeeze this tournament in. But when you have a tournament where you're worried about, where you have replacement teams, give me a break. Replacement teams, you're going to put a replacement team in the tournament? Give me a break. That would be ridiculous to put a replacement team in the tournament.
Do you have a sense of the brackets or not?
Yeah. No, I've been watching, and in the last month, I've watched the teams. Here's what I'll say about it. You have a great team. They are a great team. They're not only a great team, they have the best chance of any team since Indiana to win it all and go undefeated. I think they should have lost the game. It would have been better for them, a lot less pressure. They were losing that BYU game by 12 at half. They came back and won it by 10. The bottom line is you have a top team in Gonzaga, which has a bigger edge than anybody's taken into the tournament, I think, in 20 years. I think there's 2 or 3 other really good teams. Michigan's been hurt by the injury. And then the fall-off is enormous, enormous. There's about 4 really good teams. After that, you could put 30 teams together. So there's a couple of really good teams. I think right now Gonzaga and Illinois are playing heads above everybody else. The Michigan injury has hurt them. I've never been a Baylor fan, and lately they don't guard anybody, so I don't trust them. But Gonzaga, I'll be fascinated to watch. They got 3 of the top 10 players in the country. They got 2 guys who would be on the first-team All-American team if I was picking it. They are loaded in every way. I don't like that they're undefeated. I think it'd be better if they had a loss. But I think right now I would bet on them to go on to win the whole thing because I think they got a soft bracket, number one. They're going to have to play 2 games, and I think they'll win those games. Although if Illinois can get there, and Illinois is a tremendous team, if Illinois can get there, that will be a great final.
100%. Good fun. And you're right, boy, they give Gonzaga an easy path.
Gonzaga's got as soft a bracket as you could possibly have. I mean, it's ridiculous.
My God. Terrible. There's no. Now, I have made this comment with our buddy Tori all week. This is a big year for few. I mean, I know everybody loves him. I just did Dan Monson on here an hour ago. Right. I know everybody loves him. He's done a great job at the program. 7 times he's been a top 3 seed, and he's been in the tournament 20 years in a row. He's been to 1 Final Four. No excuses. Win a championship for crying out loud. Go ahead. Let me hear your thoughts.
Put has in capital letters. He has to win it. Case closed. He comes off as being a guy who has completely choked in the NCAA tournament his whole life if he doesn't win this tournament. He has to win this tournament. He has the best team. And if you take Illinois out of the mix, if somebody beats Illinois, he's got the best team by a lot.
Right. Do you think that so you're not sure if there'll be a lot of juice around the water coolers in America? You're not sure about that?
I don't think there will be. First of all, there aren't any water coolers. That's number one, okay?
That's
Secondly,
true. Yes.
People are just starting back. We don't have the country yet set up back the way it needs to be. We won't have sports back like we know it until we have full stadiums again and we have the rhythm and we have the week the way we always have it, and we go from the Final Four right to Augusta, and we go and then to opening day, and we have everything the way we want it. We don't have a rhythm to this right now. We don't even know what's up at these ballparks. You don't know where the announcers are doing the games from. Until all that stops, until all that no longer is the guessing game, sports is not coming back in America the way we know it.
Hunter, I think there's a lot of truth to that. Have you had your shots yet with COVID?
I had a shot. Yes, I got my first shot in late January. I got my second shot February 2nd. I didn't have any reaction from the first. I got Pfizer. My second shot, I was a little off for a couple of days, but the biggest thing was my left arm blew up like crazy. It got red, it got itchy, and it got swollen. That was my only thing that happened. Other than that, I've been fine. I've never had the virus, knock on wood. I've traveled a couple. I didn't travel the way Ro and I wanted to travel. We canceled a couple of trips, but we did go to Vermont to go skiing with the family. I've been in Florida a lot, so I haven't been home. I've been around. I've bounced around a little bit. Luckily, I've been able to be safe that way. But I did get the shot. Yep, and I've had it now for almost 6 weeks. So I've been through my second shot. How about you? Did you get it?
I'm getting my first one on Tuesday. Have you worn masks? You wear masks all over the place or no?
Yeah, the only thing I would say that it's really changed a lot is we haven't gone out to dinner much at all. We used to go out to dinner. We haven't gone out to dinner a lot since this happened at all, and especially in inside restaurants. We haven't done a lot of that, and we haven't been to a lot of big parties. Our families haven't had big parties, and Ro has a huge family, so we haven't done a lot of that since this happened. I'd say that's been the biggest change more than anything else. And obviously, like everyone else, played a lot of golf, as everyone else did last year, and I expect that to be the same this year because that's one place you could go. You could get outside, and I think we're headed back, but I think it will be September, and I'm hoping Thanksgiving is. I'd sign for Thanksgiving right now to be back 100%. That Thanksgiving's right, and the Christmas season's right, and everything's back to normal. I'd settle for Thanksgiving right now. I predict it will still be Labor Day before we get back to normal.
Wow, so you don't buy. I've had Christie on here a lot. He felt sold out stadiums by July 4th in baseball. You think that's too soon?
I think it's too quick. I hope he's right. I pray he's right. But I think it's a little quick. I think people are more reluctant than you think. I think also deciding how you're going to legislate people into the stadium. A lot of people under 21 are not going to have it at all. Do they have to get it? People under 30, do they have to get it? More people are reluctant to get it than you think. They shouldn't be. But I think it's going to be a little slow. I think it's going to be slower than people think. I hope he's right. I hope it is. Hey, I'd love it if it was the 4th of July. I think it's probably going to be Labor Day.
All right. Now, how bad were the Chiefs? Did that game shock you in the Super Bowl?
I was worried. I actually thought that Mahomes was so good that he and Andy would come up with a system. I tweeted the day after the championship game, they got a huge problem on the offensive line. We knew they did. I didn't know how they were going to fix that, but Andy was so confident leading up to the 2 weeks, he surprised me because it seemed to me the way I watched them talk and everything that he had it figured out, and he didn't have it figured out at all. And not only that,
they were terrible.
Not only did he not have it figured out, dog, he never adjusted. He just said, you know what, Mahomes go make plays. And then when Mahomes finally did make a play, they all dropped the ball. Kelsey dropped the ball. Every guy dropped. 3 or 4 different receivers had a drop in a big spot when he finally got the ball up. But the guy was running for his dear life. So I thought Andy was very smug, and he did a bad job because I don't think he made any adjustment to how bad his offensive line was.
100, and I also think that kid's accident with the poor little girl had a lot to do with this too. They were off their kilter the whole game. I thought that was a factor myself.
Great point. That had to knock that team for a loop. You had a little girl almost get killed right outside the door by Andy's son, right outside the door of the building. I mean, that had to impact that team dramatically. I totally agree. I think both things, and I think Kansas City was probably overconfident. They were overconfident all year. They were clearly the best team, but you know what? Tampa had a pass rush, and let's be honest, everyone wants to give Tom credit, and you should. And Tom, when he was presented with the right play, made it. But let's be honest, if they don't strip the ball from Cook, they're not going to beat New Orleans.
100%.
14 points.
100%.
And then he throws 3 picks in the second half for the Green Bay game. I mean, come on. How do you go to the Super Bowl throwing 3 picks on your way there in the second half? I mean, so
100%. The
defense did a great job.
Yeah, their fumble with Cook. Oh, my God. It was the whole game for crying out loud. And I'll tell you something.
New Orleans would have won that game. New Orleans would have won that game.
And I'll tell you this. I know you're going to probably disagree, and I know he's great, but he's not an immortal. I'm a little down on Rodgers. I mean, you got to play a little bit. He played pretty well, but if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're at home in that building and you can't score twice inside the 10-yard line and you have a chance to take the lead and you go 3 and out, that was not a scintillating performance by him in that ball game against Tampa either. What's your thoughts there?
You're going to look back at Rodgers the way you look back at Marino and say, how did he not win more? You're going to, because they were that good. How did they not win more? That's the thing you're going to look at. Go back and look at Marino and say, how did he not win more? You're going to say the same thing about Rodgers. He's had too many losses in big playoff spots, way too many. And again, sometimes he doesn't have the most complete team. Sometimes they've tried to build the offense at the expense of the defense or at the expense of the line, put too many. They've done some things to try to tilt the roster his way. But the bottom line is, you're right. He hasn't won enough for what he did. And he's been that dominant a player. He should have won more. I totally agree through the years. And he's had his chances. And let's be honest, Tampa, their defense did some great things. They came up with some big defensive plays in the New Orleans game, in the Green Bay game. They really did. And Pierre-Paul, I tell you, how great was he? I mean, he was unbelievable. What a performance by him in the playoffs. Unbelievable.
100%.
The guy doesn't lose playoff games. He's unbelievable.
He's won the 2 Super Bowls. Well done. We continue. We'll take a quick break. We'll get right back to Mike. Good. Don't go anywhere. Hang in there. We'll take a timeout. We'll come right back to you. We're on Continue with Mr. Francesa right after this. Okay, a little throwback radio here. Getting a lot of texts from one of my buddies. Boy, I can listen to you two all day. Mike and I think alike in a lot of ways. People don't realize that. Mr. Francesa with us here, of course.
This is the first time I've been on. It's the first interview I've done since like last Thanksgiving. I haven't been on the radio anywhere. This is it. I haven't been on radio this year.
Well, you were on with me at Game 5. Boys, you call that game right with Chapman. Boy, did you hit that one on the noggin. The Tampa game. Boy, did you hit that game.
Everybody loves the Yankees. The Yankees, now the rest of the league is down. It's not as good this year. So that's one thing. They don't have as tough of teams against them this year because I think the other teams are down a little bit. The other thing, though, is the Yankees have stubbornly stayed with this core of players too long. They should have gone away from it, and they needed to break it up, and they still haven't. And they still want to prove that they're right with this core of players. And to me, they're too right-handed still. And you can say, oh, well, they hit all these home runs. Yeah, but in the playoffs, they run into a guy with a wicked curveball, and they can't hit anybody. The bottom line is they need to have more diversity in that lineup. And, again, the bullpen is not what it's cranked up to be in the big spot. It never is. And, listen, I think they're good. I don't think they're great. I think they're good. I think they're obviously going to make the playoffs, and they're going to win their 95 games plus, but they're not a lock, that's for sure.
100%. We'll get to that in a sec. I'll tell you one thing we're headed down, and you and I have been through this for a long, long time. I used to take the owner's side. You took the player's side. But regardless of what side you take, there is going to be a huge strike. I'd be shocked if there's baseball on time next spring. I think the players are looking for a big fight. Manfred killed them last time. I think they want to get a lot of that back. They were worrying about omelets in spring training while Manfred was getting international pool money organized. He outsmarted Clark. That's not going to happen again, and I think we are in for a nasty deal come December. What's your take on that? Let me hear.
Completely right, Doug. And the players see that, number one, that they are really making sure they don't give the money to people when they hit over 30 years of age. They're making sure they don't do that except for the special player. Number two, they're seeing in the other sports how these guys are able to get the movement that they want, get the money that they want, that the big guys get the big money early, and in baseball you don't. The owners have really done a great job in recent negotiations against the players. The players have a lot to fight for. The players will see how tough they are. The one thing to watch is the economics. They're coming off a couple of very lean years, and the money is there right now. So if you try to get it short term, you need to look long term and not short term, because short term, until you get people back in those ballparks, the money's not there.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see if they realize that after 2 years of, as you said, during a pandemic with everybody hemorrhaging money, if they're smart enough to realize, you know what, this is not the right time to strike. This is not the right time to lock everybody out. Let's figure something out. Now, historically,
no, you're right. They're angry. No, they're mad.
They're angry. Yeah, they're angry.
No, they want to fight. You're right. You're headed for it. They want to fight. There's no question. And baseball hasn't done a lot of smart things. Listen, I like Manfred personally. I really do. Okay, and I used to fight with Bud. Manfred's done some things that are smart, but some things that are just ridiculously dumb. And I tell you, I don't like some of the baseball rules. I don't like some of the shortcuts baseball has taken. I understand that they had to do things just like every sport did, but get back to putting the sport back on solid ground as soon as you possibly can. And, you know, they're all moaning about it. You know that they're all moaning money. Bump it to an owner, he'll tell you lost a fortune. It doesn't matter what. He'll tell you lost a fortune.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like you don't like the man on second base.
No,
in the 10th inning?
I hate it. I hate
How about
the way they set up the bullpen. Baseball to me is about matchups. I don't like what they've done to those things. Go back and play the game the right way. Play the game the right way. And I'll tell you right now, you know what? Let the other stuff work out itself as far as shifts and how baseball is played on the diamond. That will work itself out. That will work itself out in time. The bottom line is, though, I don't like all the new rules. I like baseball the way it was set up, although I'm a DH in both leagues guy because, let's be honest, that time is.
How about the pace of play? What's your take on that?
Listen, baseball is a sport that pays in May for being slow and gain incredible drama in October for being slow. The 2-minute at bat in May bores you to tears. The 2-minute in October is historic. It's something you remember forever. He fouled off the 1-2. He missed with the 2-2. He came back. That's baseball at its best in the postseason when there's a line. Baseball's not slow. Baseball's slow in May because there's too many games.
Do you like the expanded playoffs? Do you think they made a mistake not going to 7 instead of staying at 5? What's your take on that?
I don't worry. That doesn't bother me either way. I can live with it either way. It didn't bother me one way or the other. I don't mind them putting another team in. I can live with that. That doesn't bother me.
You can. I know you don't like the 3-man batter limit, the pitcher thing. You don't like. You hate that. I know. I hate that.
Matchups. I hate that. I think that's ridiculous. You know what? Baseball's about matchups, and it also takes so much away from managing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, here's the thing I would say, though. Baseball is the only sport where, you know, Brady plays in the last 5 minutes, LeBron's in there in the last 5 minutes, you know, Federer and Nadal play the 5th set. Baseball is the only sport where the great pitcher is out of there. And look at Snell in Game 6 of the World Series, for crying out loud. Baseball is the only sport where the best pitcher is out of there to run in that bullpen. So you never see that gut check by a big starter in a big game. They've lost that in the sport, which is a major problem because of the bullpens. How about that?
That's it. Well, that's because they've turned – every sport has become a sport of specialization, but baseball more so. Remember, baseball is the only sport where you don't put the best offensive player in the big spot every time. In the other games, you give the ball to your quarterback. You give the ball to LeBron James. He gets the ball in every big spot. In baseball, you can have nothing to draw. That works. That's why – guy, but you're right. They've turned it into a sport.
It's specialist. Little phone line there. We'll see if we get this straightened out. What's your as far as Lindor is concerned? I'm actually a little surprised that he sounds a little hesitant about staying in New York. Do you think there's any way Cohen is not going to get him signed, if not opening day by next year? I would think he'd stay, right?
No way he will. As soon as he gets off, doesn't matter what, Cohen won't let him go. You know what? One thing, money's not going to stand in the way. He's not going anywhere. That's why money's not going to be the issue. Bring him in here to leave. That's not going to be a problem. Anybody who thinks that's going to be a problem doesn't understand the guy who bought the team. That's not going to be a problem at all.
So they will, even if they have to wait. What was your take on Tatis getting all that money from the Padres at 22 years of age?
Listen, the money's nuts. I mean, sir. Let's be honest.
Let's take a quick break. We'll see if we get Mike on a little better line, and we'll come back in a sec. We got to get another break in anyway. It's 5:30. We continue. Good to have you aboard here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Continuing right after this. Don't go away. Okay, I think we got the line. At least we figure we got it straightened out a little bit with Mike, of course, giving us some thoughts. Give me some over-unders that you like as far as baseball. I got a lot, too. I haven't done them all yet in my head. I know you had two or three that you love.
I have
Go ahead.
three for you that I have, and I do these every year. I love these. I have three for you, and I want to point out one thing that the audience has to remember this year, and you got to play this to your advantage. In the past, it would say at the top of the wager, you have to play 161 games for it to be official. You have to be 162. This year they're using 156. So think about it. Overs become harder. Unders, you got a little cushion there. 156 is official. That's in the past. It used to be 5 or 6 more games. Now it's 156 is official.
Good point.
That's a big advantage. Now I got 2 unders for you. One is my one that I play every year until it loses, and that's the Orioles under 65. This year it's up to 65. I've played against them every year. I've won every year. I like the Orioles under again 65. I like the Rockies under 63.5. I think they're terrible. And they also have the Dodgers, obviously, and a very good division. The Dodger number is the highest number, dog, I've ever seen, 103. I would play against that number on principle. If you need 104 wins to cover the bet, it's just a bad bet. Coming off a win, 104 wins to cover. I've never seen anybody at 103 before. 103, it's insane.
I thought it was actually 105.5. So 103, you might be getting a break.
103, but even 103, if it's 105.5, call me, okay? The bottom line is that's insane, that number. I don't care how good you think the team is. And the other one I like Colorado under, Baltimore under, and I like the Indians over 81. I think that they've overreacted to the Indians. I understand what's going on, but I still think that they will be much better than that. I think that's a very sound play over 81 games.
Yeah, I can see that. I think the Braves are going to be good, too. And I know it's 90 or right around there.
Yeah.
But until I see somebody beat the Braves, they got a winning culture. I think they're annoyed by everybody thinks the Mets are so good. Don't be shocked, Mike, if the Braves are good again. And they are a good team. And they got Ozuna back. They brought in Charlie Morton. You and I both like him. I think the Braves are going to be pretty damn good in the AL East. What's your take
what about
there?
the Giants?
Giants will be, I think they're 75. Giants will be competitive, Mike, but, the Giants, what they're trying to do, they're going to do nothing this year, and then they lose Posey, Cueto, all these contracts go by the board after this year. So don't be shocked if the Giants get one of these shortstops for 2022. There's a lot of these shortstops, as you know. Now, Seager's going to stay put, and Lindor will stay put, but you still got Baez, you got Correa. A lot of these shortstops will be in the mix. Let me give you, so you like those two. Let me give you a couple, see what you think, over, under. How about Milwaukee at 83.5, over?
All right. I never liked that team that much, but okay, I could see that.
Bad division. And, they brought in Bradley to play center. Yelich will be better. They got a couple of pitchers, and they got a pretty good boy. I know he's a good manager. That council is a good freaking manager. I'll tell you that right now. All right, that's one. That was one I like. It's a little risky, but they're relatively consistent. Now, you took Cleveland. How about Minnesota over 90?
Listen, they've been very consistent, as you said. So I think, you know what, they're very sound. We know what they can do. So I wouldn't have any problem with that. I just thought they overreacted and really adjusted. I looked for really wicked adjustments. I thought they overreacted to the Indian number too much. I thought 81's crazy. So I like that one. And I look for the teams that are really bad, and especially in a division where there's good teams. And that's why I go against the Rockies, which is 63.5. I actually thought the number would have been in the high 50s. I thought it was a gift at 63.5.
Yeah. How about the Mets at 90? The Mets here are 92.5. I think that's too high. They should be an under. How about that?
I'd say it's between 90. I would go under at that number.
I just think that, can the Mets go out there and win 93 games before I start betting on them, for crying out loud?
I don't love them. I don't think their pitching's as strong as everybody thinks it is. I don't love them, and I think the division's pretty good. I don't love them, and they don't play well against teams in that division sometimes. They really don't. So they have no advantages in their division. So I don't love them. I really don't. I don't trust the manager. Don't love them, and I think the Yankee number. Listen, I wouldn't go against the Yankee number because I don't know what Toronto is yet. And Tampa's definitely down a little. You know Tampa's going to surprise you. You know they're going to be better than you think they are. I just think they're down with what they did. I think they have to be down. I have great respect for them. I love the owner. I just think that they have to be down a little. So I think the Yankee number is easier than it's been in years. As a matter of fact, I think the American League at the top is easier than it's been in a while. So I think that makes it easy for the Yankees. But I don't love the Yankees as much as a lot of people do. I still have some question marks. And to me, they're still too right-handed. I have some question marks in the rotation. And I think, although everyone raves about the bullpen all the time, in a big spot, and I'm talking about in the playoffs. The Yankees are going to make the playoffs. We know that. It's about winning a championship. Remember this. The Yankees have won one championship in 20 years. Okay? Everyone acts like they've won a lot. They've won once in 20 years. And if they didn't win, think about where careers would be if they didn't beat the Phillies in 09.
96 is the number. They go over that because, as you said, the division, the American League is down. You have to take the Yankees over, but I have some question marks with them, too.
But I don't think they're a lock in the playoffs, and I think they have been a very suspect playoff team. I just think they are. I think they get tight, and I think they have a lot of bad situational hitters. I think they're too right-handed in the middle of the order, and I don't trust Chapman in a big spot. Chapman, now we're here about, he's got a new pitch. That's great. You know what? Now we're turning him into a pitch wonder. There's a lot of great relievers with 4 pitches, let me tell you. So I don't trust him. I never have in the big spot. He's given up a lot of big home runs. Listen, we know he can be very good a lot of times, but can he be great in the big spot? That's what it's about for the Yankees. The Yankees need to win a title. It's way overdue. Way overdue for them to win a title.
You think baseball's in big trouble as a sport overall?
I think they have a lot to work out. I think that they took a lot tougher hit than people realize because of the fact that baseball needs people in their ballpark more than other sports do. And that really it was a very tough hit for them. And they really need to get back to a sense of normalcy. But you hit it on the head. There is a war coming, an enormous war coming between the owners and the players. It's been coming for a long time, and I don't think there's any way to stay away from it. It's going to happen, and that's going to be really very tough for that sport to handle that.
100%, no question. Are you on? Are you into the Knicks? Thibodeau's great. We both love him. They've done a nice job being around 500. I don't make a big deal about making the playoffs. This 7, 8, 9, 10 playing thing means nothing to me because you're going to get knocked out in the first round anyway. What difference does it make? Yeah, what you fight your rear end off to be the 9th seed to get blown out by LeBron in a 7-game series? I don't know why they're doing it, but it doesn't mean anything to me. But, the Knicks are competitive. They're watchable. What's your take with them?
Thibodeau's the U.B. Brown of this generation. He is very good at taking a bad team and turning them into a competitive team. The question is, can he turn a team into a top team? And the other question is, can they make the jump to being a top team? Can they get fortunate enough to get the one player they need that can make the difference? That's what it's all about. It's about that one player, either having them fall in your lap, having him, want to come to you in free agency, getting lucky in the draft. That's what it's about. It's about that one player. Thibodeau, like I said, he'll take you to respectability. He'll demand respectability. He'll also wear a team out, as we know, but he's great at that. The question is, can he take a team from being good and make it a great team?
Yeah. Are you down on Harden like the rest of it? I know how great he is. Did you hate the way Harden left?
Harden.
Can't stand him, huh?
When people say Harden's a great player, I say next. I can't stand Harden. Not only is he selfish, I think he never plays well in the playoffs. I can't stand him.
I'm not a big Irving fan, too. He's tough to take. What's your take on him?
Listen, the NBA players, it has become a joke the way they treat their league. They treat the league like, I'll show up on Tuesday. Maybe I'll play Saturday. I'll let you know Sunday if I'm going to play Tuesday or Wednesday. I mean, whatever. Will Chamberlain used to play 48 minutes every night for 82 games. What the heck happened to that league? Nobody plays anymore. That's why I give you credit about LeBron James. LeBron James at least still gives you a good effort for your buck every time out. That's gone. These young guys, they don't want to play anymore. They think it's a great thing to play 50, 60 games.
And Durant's always hurt. I mean, he's always.
He never plays. I mean, these guys don't want to play anymore. I think rest for players and I guess we got to say Popovich invented that, but rest for players is the worst thing that ever happened to the NBA.
Did you like the Jordan documentary?
No, I thought it was. Listen, it was like, you know what I thought about? Here's what I thought about. Not that I was going to learn a lot about Jordan, and I really didn't care much about behind the scenes stuff. What it brought back to me was how many great games you and I got a chance to be at. How many great times we spent at the Garden or in Chicago or on the road in Indiana. I mean, we went to or in Miami. We went to so many great, tough playoff games. That was a great era, and we got to go to all those games. Think about how many times you and I got to the Garden when it was in the middle of the afternoon, it was empty and it was cold, and by 8 o'clock it was roaring, and how great those games were on a Friday night or a May Sunday. We got to be at all those great games all those years, and that's what it brought back. It brought back a lot of good memories.
Do you think Jordan's better than LeBron?
I think they're very different. I think Jordan is much more like Kobe than he is like LeBron. I think LeBron's more like Magic, except he's a little bit better scorer. I think
if you had to take one to win a 7-game series, you'd take Jordan, would you not?
I would take Jordan because I think winning means more to Jordan than it did to LeBron. I think LeBron gives you everything he has. I think he's as good a two-way, all-around player as the sport's ever seen. But I think winning meant more to Jordan. Jordan was like Russell. Winning was like breathing. He couldn't accept losing. And when he had a good team, he won. Here's where LeBron gets his edge, though, and he doesn't get credit for it. Jordan, when they got good, he got good. He had a lot of bad teams. LeBron, every time he goes to a team, they go to the finals. That just shows you now. He takes the team you can put him anywhere in the league. He'll take the team to the finals. They might not win, but they'll go to the finals.
Do you think I killed the NBA for that China thing last year because they took a pass on knocking China, Popovich, Kerr, everybody, Hong Kong, the whole bit. Yet they got out there and they killed the White House constantly. That drove me nuts, that hypocrisy. Would you have done the same thing if you were on the air at the time?
I really would have to go back and run through it, but I would say yes. Listen, there's plenty of hypocrisy in sports, that's for sure. And you know what? There's so much nonsense that's gone on, and so much that went on politically with the NBA last year that I didn't like. I think the NBA went overboard at times. Listen, they were right about certain things. There were certain things that we all know have to change, but there's also a way of doing it, a right way and a wrong way. You want to appeal to all your customers, not just some of your customers. And I think you have to take that into account and remember what sports is for. Sports is there to give us entertainment and to be a release. It's not to settle every issue every night. Sports can't do both. Sports can't entertain and give you great theater and then settle every world crisis too. It's not there to do that. It can't do it. So when it tries to do it, it looks a little ridiculous.
At times. All right. The Jets with the second pick. You think they're going to take the kid from BYU or not?
Absolutely. If they don't, I'll fall off the chair. He is absolutely going second. And if the Jets don't take him, I you know what? Jet fans should just mail their tickets back if they don't take him.
Oh, you love him. Oh, you love him that much. You love him that much, huh?
I think he's clearly the second player. I love the Clemson quarterback. I love Lawrence. I think he's going to be a top player. I think that kid at BYU is really good. I think Wilson's a superb player. I think he's going to be a very good player. I think that's where they should go. And I think they should spend their time right now building the infrastructure, build the lines. You can get the other players. Build the lines, especially the offensive line, and go draft the quarterback and go that way. And hopefully they get a good coach. No one knows about coaches. Let's be honest, okay? Bill Arnsparger had the best resume of any assistant who ever lived. He was a terrible head coach, all right? North Carolina had an incredible resume as an assistant. He was a terrible head coach. You never know. Romeo Crennel was a great assistant. He's a terrible head coach. You don't know who's going to be a good head coach or not. It's hit or miss because you just don't know which guy's a leader and which guy isn't. And that's the difference between being an assistant, a coordinator, and a head coach. You have to be a leader. You have to get the big picture, and not many guys do. And a lot of guys who are really good football guys are great coordinators, but they're lousy head coaches. So it's hit or miss. You just never know if a guy's going to be a good head coach or not.
Belichick made some noise this week. You knew he was annoyed about Brady, and he's going to get this team fixed. Any issues with what Belichick did with free agency?
I thought he was very smart. I think what he did with the tight ends was brilliant. Belichick is as smart as listen. Belichick can't stand me, and he and I have never gotten along a day. The bottom line, is the guy's a brilliant coach. He sees the big picture, and the idea that Tom won something last year from Belichick because he won is ridiculous. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. He didn't prove anything. Belichick's the same coach he was before Tom won that Super Bowl. He'll be the same coach afterwards. The guy's a brilliant coach, and Brady's a brilliant quarterback. Anybody tries to say one or the other isn't true, it's just stupid. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you on Belichick. He's going to be there for a long time. I
think he likes the coach. He said the thing. It's funny. Knight and Parcells were the mentors to Belichick and Coach K. But what Coach K and Belichick were able to do that Knight and Parcells weren't, was they were able to adapt for the long term, and they were able to motivate themselves to be happy in one place for a long time, which is something Knight couldn't do, which is something Parcells couldn't do. And both Krzyzewski and Belichick have been able to stay in one place and be so highly motivated at such a high level. It's an amazing achievement for both those guys.
And I thought the Bill and Bill documentary was excellent. Did you like that Bill and Bill 30 for 30 or no?
Yeah, it's funny. There were some things in there that I know Bill wasn't thrilled about, but you know what? I thought it was pretty good. There's some things in there they didn't have that, you're just not going to know about. But, they've had a very interesting relationship through the years, very hot and cold, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but they have great respect for each other. They're very different. But they're both great coaches. They really are incredibly good coaches. And the thing about Belichick and Coach K is that amazes me is how hungry they stay year after year after year. They still like doing it. They still get motivated to do it with the next team, with the next team. That's a great thing they've been able to do, is stay there and be able to do it for the long term. It's a remarkable achievement. We won't see another Krzyzewski or another Belichick for a very long time.
I know somebody who wasn't too pleased at the end of that documentary when Bill told the other Bill, boy, that's when you let get away the Super Bowl against the Giants with the Tyreek catch when they were going through the trophy case. I'm sure you can figure out who that might be. There was somebody that wasn't too pleased by that remark. Yes or no? Let me hear. Go ahead.
I'm sure there were a couple of both ways. You know what? They both are very competitive, which is what makes them great. You know that? They're very competitive. You know that? So hey, if you're not competitive, you're not going to be good over the long term. That's all there is to it. You got to have a little edge. I don't care what profession you're in. You got to have a little edge. And you got to be competitive. Otherwise, you're not going to be great at what you do. That's all there is to it.
Could you have done the sports talk in the last year if COVID would have driven you crazy not having sports to talk about?
I probably would have done too much politics, and I probably would have ticked my audience off because I got very into the politics of it, and I probably would have done too much politics. Probably would have been a mistake to do it. Probably should have taken probably would have taken too much of a political view, and it probably would have been wrong. So I probably would have made a mistake there. I would have done a lot of politics, I think, because there was nothing in sports to keep me in any way interested. There was nothing going on. It would have driven me absolutely crazy. I hated February. I hated February when we worked. I hated not going in there and having something to do. And that was the hardest part of the years when I worked without you, was when you and I were in there together and it was a slow day, you and I could create something stupid out of something. We could get on each other. We could get on somebody else. We could get on Minko. We would find a hook. It's harder to do it yourself to just find a hook that works. So that's the times I wish I could have gone to the bullpen and called you up. Those are the days that you miss. Because those days are very hard, and then you had a year of it. So you could tell me you did it. How hard was it?
I tell you what was the biggest plus for me. you're going to be stunned when I tell you this. The music. I did so much 60s music from that great Epics documentary about Laurel Canyon. It carried me. It carried me. A matter of fact, a lot of people don't know who he is. I think you probably do. About 3 weeks ago, I put him on Zoom for an hour. Roger McGuinn. You know who Roger McGuinn is?
McGuinn and McGuire. No, absolutely. I know who McGuinn is. Absolutely.
As good, with all the bird stuff and everything else from the 60s. He came on Zoom with his guitar for an hour.
Did he know who you were?
No idea. Came on with music for an hour and told me his whole life and played songs like 8 Miles High, Turn, 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 all the Dylan songs.
I remember the Birds, and you realize how related those bands were. The Birds, to Fleetwood Mac, to all the different bands.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Related. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, a lot of Tom Petty. Michael, great job. We will talk soon. Thanks for giving me a call. Thanks for coming on today. You know we love you.
Thanks, Dog. Enjoy the tournament. I'll talk to you. Bye. Thanks.
Okay.